How much of your life is truly yours, and how much is merely the momentum of your past family history? We start life stranded on the island of our family history, disconnected from the mainland of opportunity. The choices given to the poor and the rich are profoundly unequal in every essential way. We unconsciously repeat historical traumas, constrained by ancestors' unhealed emotional debts to the family. Genuine freedom necessitates identifying the boundaries and attempting to scale the rigid inherited structures. The weight of cultural tradition imposes a fixed, difficult itinerary upon every single life journey. The potential of the self is diluted by layers of cultural expectation, hindering the true light. The illusion of free choice is strong, but the ground beneath us is constantly determined by ancient history. We read our fate in the document of our lineage, finding only the anxious reflection of ourself. Every inherited system, whether economic or cultural, violently resists any independent upward movement. Privilege sets a different kind of boundary. The ceiling is still present, though it appears far more beautiful. The choice to escape the circumstances of birth requires exponentially greater effort than staying put. Self-determination remains a desperate struggle against the prevailing, persistent winds of historical fate. We must question whether self-made is genuinely a truth or merely a comfortable, convenient myth. The inertia of history is immense. Escaping one's starting place feels like rowing against a massive current. Education is claimed to be an equalizer, but the inherited structures often make learning incredibly painful. Genuine freedom necessitates identifying the generational chains and then working to actively dismantle them. Past limitations severely constrain the future. Every step forward is complicated by inherited burdens. The long shadow of family history falls over every modern choice, influencing outcomes subtly yet completely. True freedom demands the real possibility of radical deviation from the established ancestral paths. The scales of opportunity are never balanced at birth. One side always starts significantly heavier. We are prisoners of history when the self is fundamentally attached to the structure of the past. Socioeconomic ceilings are built before we are born. Our ambition often tragically meets a fixed limit. To choose is to betray the patterns of the past. Self-determination requires a conscious, forceful break. The attempt to write a new destiny is constrained by the ingrained, inherited flaws of the instrument. We are born into a history that names us and locks us into place, demanding we conform to it. The unseen cultural and familial roots determine the health, strength, and vulnerability of the whole structure. We lose generations of momentum due to constraints. The privileged start far ahead in the race of life. The burden of family and social expectation is invisible but unbelievably heavy to carry every day. Socioeconomic starting points create a viscous conformity, making any upward movement painfully slow. Our moral and geographical direction is perpetually pulled down by the unavoidable mass of history. The potential for self-determination is locked away by ancient customs, needing a great, forceful explosion. Cultural identity is often a beautiful, limiting shell, restricting the ability to move and grow freely. The wind of history pushes us all into the same corner, making individual deviation a true miracle. Once the momentum of history takes hold, the individual will finds it nearly impossible to suddenly stop. The crucial first step of the journey is the one most heavily constrained by generational, limiting poverty. The smiling faces of tradition often hide the subtle, restrictive prison bars that define our existence. Self-made success feels like desperately standing on the singular tile remaining while the rest crumbles. Our narrative begins with the first line of history. The ability to change the script is profoundly questioned. The vast ocean of societal opportunity is available, but every single individual is born into a personal cage. The philosophical concept of free will is constantly weighed down by the dense, inevitable reality of circumstance. The path to a brighter future is blocked by the accumulation of inherited cultural and familial clutter. Our cognitive process is constrained by the historical narratives and the cultural dogmas learned from birth. The self struggles intensely to fit its unique potential into the rigid, predetermined structure of society's history. We seek self-determination, but find only the collective reflection and the relentless and demanding eyes of history. Genuine freedom demands we acknowledge the constraints, then consciously choose to act outside of them. The internal assertion of will is the first necessary act of separation from generational limitations. Self-determination begins with the radical choice to imagine a future history never predicted for us. True freedom is not merely choosing between two bad options, it is creating a wholly new alternative. The inherited cage is real, but the power to shatter the lock resides fundamentally within the individual self. The cycle of inherited suffering can be stopped by one courageous individual refusing to complete the motion. We cannot erase the past, but we possess the persistent ability to manually stitch a better story into it. Clarity of vision is achieved when we deliberately choose to see possibilities beyond the dark bars of history. The choice to ascend morally or economically requires building one's own infrastructure completely outside the established system. Self-determination is not granted. It is an arduous process of consciously shedding every inherited generational chain. The flame of personal will is small, yet it is enough to fiercely burn the oppressive bonds of the past. We must melt down old directions to forge a new, sharp sense of purpose and ethical direction. To break the inherited cycle of wealth inequality, one must exert incredible, continuous effort against gravity. We challenge the shadow of history by shining a conscious, direct light on the true source of our confinement. The strongest assertion of self is the ability to change the direction of historical or cultural inertia completely. Self-determination is the radical, powerful growth of the spirit that breaks away from the expected parental structure. The ultimate choice is to reject the finished picture and demand the simple right to start painting your own. The radical break requires a painful, conscious step. True freedom is often achieved through personal sacrifice. Self-determination is not instantaneous. The process of learning to walk without inherited strings is profoundly clumsy. The will acts as an ultimate force field, stopping the expected generational sequence of cause and effect. We are the active sculptors of our identity, choosing to carve a self that history did not already design. Inner peace is found when the self achieves stability despite the surrounding chaos of historical and cultural forces. The heaviest inherited burdens can be lifted by the persistent, unyielding strength of self-determination. A pure, radical stream of self-will can cut through the driest, most rigid landscape of family history. We do not search for the inherited key to freedom. The ultimate self must consciously forge its own new mechanism. The highest form of self-determination is the terrifying leap into an unknown future, unconstrained by past anchors. The independent human spirit asserts its existence when it beats strongly outside the predictable inherited machine. True freedom mandates the person must both design the destination and pave the road simultaneously toward it. The radical choice to define oneself requires the conscious, symbolic destruction of the limiting historical labels. We fight the deterministic grooves of fate by actively scraping away the deep, inherited etchings of the past. The scale of opportunity is unequal, but a single, willful, ethical act can dramatically shift the entire balance. Self-determination is cutting a perfect, unique window into the rigid, oppressive wall of historical expectation. The chaotic, inherited self achieves freedom when all its complex, conflicted parts align into a unified, singular will. The door to a new future is held open not by brute force, but by the quiet, persistent growth of new identity. The human intellect fights for freedom by consciously pushing against the rigid dogmas inherited from culture and family. We honor the past not by repeating it, but by using its broken pieces as the building material for a better future. The light of consciousness guides the self, allowing navigation and escape from the dark, confusing maze of history. The climb to self-rule requires using the broken fragments of the past as the necessary stepping stones for ascent. The free self defies the enormous gravity of history, escaping the inevitable pull of the generational mass. The true power of self-determination is rewriting the personal blueprint against the fixed, inherited architectural plans. Personal determination is the transformative force that instantly clears the inherited stagnation of limiting circumstance. The final act of self-determination is tearing the imposed narrative from the heavens to truly see the clear sky. We break the cycle not by fighting the past, but by consciously refusing to feed its energy or acknowledge its pull. The ultimate judgment belongs to the self. The gavel of the will can smash the sign of any fixed destiny. We are free not from history, but through its remnants, using our constraints to finally frame our own future.